Welcome everyone to the special ceremony where we come together to honor the incredible gift of donation. I'm Barry Massa, CEO of Network for Hope, and it is my honor and privilege to speak to you. I know today's ceremony may be a difficult and emotional time, so please accept my condolences for the loss of your loved one. On behalf of my colleagues and our organization, I want to say thank you. Thank you to your donor hero for their willingness to give the gift of life. Thank you for honoring their decision or making that decision for them. Without all of you and your heroes, none of this is possible. Through science and technology, organ, tissue, and eye donation and transplantation has greatly advanced and continues to do so. Our hospital partnerships are also so vital to ensuring compassionate care for each of you and a successful outcome for the transplant recipients. But the entire process only starts with that initial yes from the donor or the donor's family. Again, thank you for such a beautiful gift, the ultimate gift, the gift of life. More than 20 years ago, I was motivated to join this organization after walking through the transplant and grief journey with a friend. Their daughter, Aubrey Rose, had complicated medical issues. At 18 months old, Aubrey received a heart and double lung transplant. Unfortunately, a little more than a year later, Aubrey died from chronic lung rejection. She was just 2 days shy of her third birthday. So then, when I was looking for a new job, I asked this friend about joining this organization, and he said, "You're what they need, you should apply." But I only play a role at Network for Hope, not the role. My hope is that I can inspire everyone at Network for Hope to play their role to the best of their abilities so we can save more lives. After 21 years doing this work, I remain committed to our mission of saving, healing, and changing lives through donation. Stories like Aubrey Rose's and stories like yours are ROI. Such stories weave together people from all walks of life with different experiences and backgrounds into a common thread of kindness and generosity, the gift of life. While everyone's grief journey is uniquely theirs, everyone connected to this mission walks together with the power of this gift. And I know your loved one was more than their final chapter, far more. That is why all of us at Network for Hope are so grateful to honor your loved one today. I read a quote that said, "In families, we meet people we'd never otherwise encounter." At Network for Hope, we have a family-first philosophy, which means you are part of our Donate Life family. We are bonded together through the selfless gift of your loved one. Everything that we do is with all of you at the forefront of our hearts and minds as we lead with compassionate care because, again, donation does not happen without you. Everyone involved in the process, from auditors and accountants to our donation support services team, to family support, to all those on the front line, treats you like family because you are. I'm especially grateful to Gretchen Starnes, Katie Wright, and our entire family aftercare team for not only providing this opportunity to have your loved one honored, but for walking beside you during your grief journey. When our family aftercare team says they are with you indefinitely, that is an unwavering commitment. Please take advantage of these resources and services they provide. Aubrey Rose's father may have said, "You're what they need," but what I've learned over these years is that each of you is what I need. You are my connection to purpose, to our mission. If any of my colleagues or I are having a bad day or a hard day, your stories, your courage, and your loved one's legacy are what anchors us and reminds us why we do what we do. Together, we save lives, and together, we honor the legacies of our donors. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your loved one's generosity.
Hello. and welcome to Network for Hope's 2025 Virtual Donor Recognition Ceremony. On behalf of the Family Aftercare team, we thank you for joining us today as we honor and pay tribute to your loved one. We hope our time together will bring comfort and a sense of connection amid your grief, while realizing that you are part of the Donate Life family. We hope that throughout today's ceremony, you will come to know that you are not alone. Your loved one's legacy carries on in you and the lives they've touched. May the words and stories shared today bring you hope for the days to come.
Throughout today's ceremony, you will hear a donor mother's courageous story of love and loss. You will hear heartfelt words of gratitude and hope written by those who have received the gift of life, and from donor and spirit families who express the deep desire to give. Perhaps one of the most sacred moments during our time together will be the video tribute of our most recent donor heroes. You will witness the faces and names of those who said yes to donation and in their final moment offered hope to those in need. Today's tribute is comprised of donors and donors in spirit from 2024 and January 2025 through June of 2025. With the large number of photo submissions, the tribute will be divided into various sections throughout the ceremony and will appear in alphabetical order. If you did not submit a photo of your loved one, we welcome you to type their names in the chat during the ceremony. We want to remember and honor all who gave.
As we embark on today's ceremony, may you find that we are a composition of unique threads. Our lives may look vastly different. Our loved one's story is uniquely theirs. Our cultures and customs may not be the same. Our grief may feel very different from another person's. Each of these different threads illustrates how individuals, experiences, and cultures are interconnected to create a larger whole. The gift of life and being part of the Donate Life family is the common thread that weaves us together.
A letter from a grateful heart recipient. Dear donor family, I've sat with this letter in my heart for a long time. Every time I've tried to write it, I'd get overwhelmed because how do you find the right words to thank someone for saving your life? Especially when it comes from the most painful moment in theirs. Please know before anything else, I am so sorry for your loss. I don't know the name of your loved one yet, or what their laugh sounded like, or who they were to you, but I feel them with me every single day. Their heart is beating inside my chest now, and because of them, I am alive. On June 28, 2023, I received my second heart transplant. That date is now embedded into my soul. While my family and I celebrated a miracle, I also held space for you because I know that while my life was being restored, yours had just changed forever. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that, about you, about the unimaginable strength it took to say yes in your darkest hour. The truth is, I wouldn't be here without your loved one. I've been through so much, 2 heart transplants, a long journey of pain, survival, and prayer. There were days I didn't think I'd make it. I was exhausted, weak, and afraid. I used to go to sleep wondering if I'd wake up. My body was fighting, but it was tired. I was tired. But somehow by grace, I held on. And then your loved one came into my life through the most selfless act anyone could ever make. That decision gave my second chance. I wish I could fully explain what that means to me. I wish I could sit across from you and just thank you with my eyes, because words just don't feel like enough. I wish you could see how I live now, how I don't take one breath for granted, how I look at the sky and cry, because I can feel your loved one with me. I talk to them sometimes when I'm scared, when I'm proud of myself, when I feel grounded. I tell them thank you. I tell them I hope I'm making them proud. Your loved one didn't just save me. They gave my 6-year-old daughter her mommy back. They gave me more time to hold her hand, to tuck her in at night, to hear her little laugh, to be present. That moment shattered me in the best way. That moment was because of you, because of your yes, because even in your heartbreak, you chose to give someone else hope. That's a part of me that still aches knowing your loved one is no longer here physically. But please know this, they are not gone. They live on in me. Their heart still beats, and I protect it with everything I have. I honor it with every step I take. Sometimes I imagine what they were like. Were they funny? Were they gentle and quiet? Or loud and full of life? Did they love music? Did they have dreams left unfinished? I want you to know that I'm carrying those dreams now. I'm walking with purpose, telling my story, speaking up about heart health and organ donation, and reminding people that miracles do exist. Because I am living proof. And your loved one is the reason. I cry for them. I cry for you. I cry for the life that's still unfolding for me. All because someone you loved become my hero. If you ever feel ready to share about them, I would be honored. I want to know their name. I want to speak it with love and reverence. But even if you choose to keep that part private, please know that they will never be forgotten. Not by me, not by my daughter, not by anyone who hears my story. I pray that you find moments of peace in your pain, that somehow knowing your loved one saved a life brings a sliver of comfort in your grief. They are not just remembered, they are cherished. Thank you from the deepest, most sacred place in my heart, with endless love and gratitude, a grateful heart recipient.
Letter from a cornea recipient. Dear donor family, I would like to express my most sincere gratitude for receiving the priceless gift of sight in my right eye again, made possible because the cornea transplant I could have, thanks to the donation of the cornea I received. I cannot thank you enough, and I cannot thank your beloved family member enough for choosing to donate so that I could have vision in my right eye again. I am humbled and I am grateful. I am very sorry for the loss of your loved one. I hope that it can be of comfort to you that their selfless act of generosity has changed my life. My former cornea wasn't able to function any longer because of a condition called keratoconus. I learned of my keratoconus about 20 years ago and learned back then that this day may come when I would need a cornea transplant. It seemed at the time to be something not to think much about. That changed in 2023 as my keratoconus got to the point that specialized lenses in my right eye would no longer work and that cornea transplant was the only option to restore sight. Until the time of my eye surgery, my right eye was no longer functional. It was like looking at a windshield of a car with lots of rain and the wipers not working. The gift of a new cornea has changed my sight immediately. My eye no longer has discomfort or eye soreness. The new cornea has taken the pain away that the old cornea was causing. I'm seeing things that I have not been able to see for a long time. At my 1-week checkup, the eye surgeon said, "The cornea looks great, really great." I tested at 20/60 vision, and it's getting better each day. I'm so lucky, as articles in some cases say it may take 6 to 12 months to get vision with full thickness cornea transplant, and I have started to get vision right away. It is an indescribable feeling of joy and gratitude in closing. I hope you know how much your loved one has changed my life and how much I am humbled and grateful for this extraordinary gift. I will truly forever be grateful. God bless you and your family, and I will always be grateful for this gift of sight. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Sincerely, a grateful cornea recipient.
The Network for Hope Aftercare team understands full well the power of stories. Stories can be transformative for the listener, but are also often transformative for the storyteller. Each year during this ceremony, we feature the story of a person or a family with a profound connection to the mission of donation and transplantation. It is our hope that each story positively impacts the journey of all of those who hear them and lend something of meaning during this virtual ceremony, during this time of recognition and celebration of your loved ones, and also beyond. Although you will hear more of her story in a moment, I have the honor of introducing this year's keynote presenter, Ms. Adria Johnson. Adria Johnson embodies hope, integrity, and humanity, and is a well-respected servant leader. She has a heart for children and youth, as well as for initiatives that address equity concerns. After several years of working in the private sector, Ms. Johnson held key roles in the Louisville Metro government, followed by serving as Deputy Commissioner and Commissioner of the Kentucky Department of Community-Based Services. For the past 7 years, she has served as the President and Chief Executive Officer for Louisville's Metro United Way. Ms. Johnson has been recognized as one of Louisville's most admired CEOs by Business First and has been included in 2024's Power 50 list as one of the most influential leaders in our community. In 2023, she was celebrated as a Daughter of Greatness by the Muhammad Ali Center. Ms. Johnson is a native of Louisville and a graduate of Ball State University. She is also a published author, having published a book of poetry in 2004. Finally, Adria Johnson has 1 daughter and 3 grandchildren. Her son, KJ, tragically passed away in November 2022 and selflessly gave the gift of life. As a donor mother, Ms. Johnson has also become an advocate for donation as her son's legacy continues to inspire and fuel her efforts. Next, you will hear from Ms. Adria Johnson, who will share from her captivating and thought-provoking journey of courage, resilience, and transformation. Join us as we welcome donor mother, Ms. Adria Johnson.
Hi. Where do I start to talk about my sunshine? I guess I'll start a little bit at the beginning. I birthed this incredible human being at 10:54 p.m. on October 6th, 1993. And for anyone that had an opportunity to know my son, his name was Kenneth. He was affectionately known as KJ from the minute he entered this world. Always knew that he was going to be called KJ. He was a junior. And he was someone that didn't meet a stranger, made everyone feel as if they were absolutely his best friend, which I think is a beautiful gift and a unique quality, that he could connect with people in a way where they felt seen, heard, embraced by him, cared for by him in a way that was unique to them. Of course, as his mom, I had immense joy in being his mother. I talked about, after I lost him, one of the greatest gifts that I feel like I achieved with my son was the ability to be his friend. So often when you're raising your children, or at least for me, when I was raising mine, KJ was one of 2. He has an older sister. I would consistently tell my children, I'm not here to be your friend, I'm here to be your mom. And hopefully when you get older, we can have that friendship. And I am so grateful that I had that friendship with my son. He was quite the character. From the moment he was old enough to walk and talk and develop his unique personality, he was one of the funniest people I have ever met in my existence to date. I used to jokingly say to him that he should go be a stand-up comedian because he didn't need to script himself. He talked, he made you laugh, he brought joy. And I think that joy quality is just who he was inherently to the core. His spirit was one that brought happiness, brought warmth, brought tenderness, brought understanding. So of course he is incredibly missed beyond what words are adequate to even describe. And for those that walk this shared journey of grief and having lost someone, you know what that means. You also know how meaningful it is to have moments like this. When KJ passed away, I had someone write me one of the most beautiful cards that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. And it said that it is said that people die twice. They die when they stop living, and they die when people stop speaking their name. So opportunities like this are incredibly precious because it's a way to keep his legacy alive. It gives me oxygen, quite frankly. It's a way to keep me with a sense of purpose because you are still that parent, even if that child is no longer here. So to talk a little bit about just, his circumstances and what brought me to this occasion, it'll be 3 years, November 19th, that KJ has no longer been on this side of existence. He tragically passed away. He succumbed to injuries that were incurred on November 10th. He was driving with his younger brother. They were hit by someone that was an impaired driver. So along with our grief journey, we've had to go through all of the legal journey as well. And for anyone that has walked that walk, you know that is also traumatic and emotional and all the things that go along with it as you're seeking justice and accountability for your loved one not being here. But we did have the beauty of having him for 9 days during the duration of his injury before he moved on, so to speak. His younger brother was killed on impact, so that was an immediate tragedy that the family had to face. And his younger brother was his half brother, his dad's youngest son. But during those 9 days, I can't express just in the midst of what is enough to bring anyone to their knees, to just, rock your world in a way that it's hard to recover from. We had as a family, and I had as a mom, and KJ had as this injured, beautiful soul, such an incredible outpouring of people that came to support us. And so one of the things that I've thought about in this year's theme of Woven Together is all that we experienced during that time in the hospital. And I write to process everything. That's just how I navigate this world. And so as people started to make their way to 9 West Bed 5 at University of Louisville Hospital, I started to keep a list that I called KJ's Army. And my hope was when, before we knew what his prognosis was, and that was one in which it wasn't likely that he would make it out of this. Before we had reached that point, my hope was to be able to share with him this army of people, because the list went on and on and on and on. And so many people walked through those halls. And as his mom, of course, I knew who he was to us and the beauty and the blessing and all that he had poured into our lives in his 29 years of living. And so I, of course, had my personal pride in that. But to see people that I didn't know the extent of his relationship with them, or to see people that I had never met, that I didn't know that he was in relationship with, whether that was people that he worked with in his space of employment, whether that was friends that, he had developed, post the formative years when they were in and out of my house and I'm carpooling and all those things. And to hear their stories of how much my son had impacted their life and what he had given them, the love that he had poured into them, the support during their hard times, the friendship, the camaraderie, whatever it was just such an incredible demonstration of what it means to be in community, what it means to really understand that we are all interconnected and truly woven together. And so I cherish that time. I cherish those interactions. I cherish those stories. I cherish knowing the impact that he made on so many that, just you can't even wrap your mind around. So as we were, in the hospital, for those of you that have had a similar journey, of being with your loved one during that time, of preparing to transition them, once you're better understanding as the tests are being run, and of course when KJ was injured, he had a traumatic brain injury. He came in a coma. He was rendered unconscious when the accident happened. So that was, of course, painful to not have an opportunity to speak with him, during that time. But of course, to be near to him was still a gift. And I am grateful that the last conversation that I had with my son was actually the night of the accident, just a couple of hours before the accident happened. And as was customary with my KJ, he ended every conversation with, "I love you." And I talked to my son almost every single day, usually multiple times a day. So he was a very present son in my life. But during that time, as we're grappling with understanding all of the medical terminology and all the things that, unless you're in that medical profession, sound like a foreign language, compounded by the fact that you're there, but you're kind of not there, and all that's going on. You're emotional, you're somewhat in a fog, you're trying to make sense of what feels nonsensical, along with just the human element as the gravity of the situation came crashing down even more severe than it was when I first walked in those hospital walls, that you actually have to prepare to say goodbye to your son. But about halfway through that hospital stay, I think it was that Wednesday, that all of this started on a Friday. I think it was Wednesday of that week, or maybe Tuesday, I'm not sure. But someone from what used to be Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates came to me, and again, with another beautiful gift moment. And they had the paper that my son had, a copy of the paper my son had filled out to initiate becoming an organ donor at the age of 18. And, you had to know KJ at 18. As his mom, I thought, wow, like, I remember who he was at 18. He was a typical 18-year-old young man, trying to find his place in the world, trying to figure out his next steps post-high school. But he wasn't as serious. I mean, the maturity wasn't there. He was still very much growing up. And so the fact that he had made such a serious, mature decision was another moment of immense pride as his mom. It was one of those moments where, you're raising your children and you're kind of like, are they listening to me? Because you're just going through some of those growing pains and those rough spots. And it was affirmation. And of course, as KJ got older, he gave me that affirmation. In fact, one of the things that he said to me was, "Mom, I always listen to you. Even if you think I wasn't listening to you, I was always listening to you." And so that was a moment that just epitomized that the seeds that you plant are actually there, even if you don't necessarily see them taking root as quickly or as fruitfully as you may want them to. But the seeds you plant are there, and who I knew him to be, who was someone who was very selfless, again, from a child on up to becoming a man, always thinking about the needs of others. And this was just yet another example of that. And so when I saw that paper, and of course, the respect that Coda showed to me, to my family, just explaining everything with no pressure. I mean, this was truly, we want to make you aware of what your son initiated way back when. We are certainly here to support you as a family if that is the route that you choose for him, and certainly are here to make sure you understand every aspect of what that means if you go on this journey to position him to give the gift of life to others. And, for us as a family, that was a no-brainer. I believe in organ donation. I always have. I I'm a very spiritual woman. My faith means much to me. I believe that we are here for a moment and there is a purpose for our life, and part of that purpose is to bless others. And so what more meaningful way could you leave that legacy and lean into that purpose than in a time of extreme tragedy and extreme pain, know that there is beauty for the ashes, so to speak. There is a rainbow after the storm. There are people that will continue on to fulfill their purpose because of his selflessness. And so our role in that, which I felt was more like the middle woman as his mother, was again kind of a no-brainer and just kind of going through the motions. But the dignity, the respect, the appreciation, the gratitude that was extended to my son, even in his comatose state, in making that decision, is also something that I will cherish and treasure for the rest of my time here. I think back to his honor walk, and again, another incredible example of how woven together we all are. Those halls were lined with so many people, whether it was medical staff from other parts of the hospital, whether it was people that we had in our 9-day stay had begun to interact with in the waiting rooms, people from the community that knew my son, that knew us as a family, and all there to just honor him for that gift, to be there to support us. And that is absolutely, probably as painful as it was, one of the most beautiful moments I've ever experienced in this life, other than probably the birth of my children. And so, of course, you're human, and wrapping your head around how do you live a life without my loved one, and how abnormal all of that is going to feel, especially for someone who was one of my best friends and someone that I talked to every day and laughed with, and all the things that go along with having that relationship. But it has made it, I don't want to say better, because I don't know that we're all on our individual grief journeys, and I think that there is no box that you can put grief in. It is an incredibly unique and individual journey, but it has soothed my pain to know that there is a young man named Justin who was 36 years old at the time of KJ's passing, who has his heart, and who I have been in contact with. I wrote him a letter, and he wrote me the most beautiful letter back, expressing gratitude and how much this gift meant to him. I know that there are 2 women that have his kidneys. I know that other parts of his physical being have gone on to help affect research and advance medicine. That is incredible. I mean, when you think about a ripple effect, and, when I eulogized my son and his brother, and one of the things that I touched on was, for as larger than life as my son was, this infectious, funny, loving personality, he was his absolute worst critic. And in his adult years, graduating from high school, figuring out what he wanted to do, trying out college, getting into the career world, he was so hard on himself and always felt as if he wasn't doing enough, and was always measuring himself by standards. I don't have this title, or my income isn't at this level, and look at what my peers are accomplishing. And, of course, as his mom, my advice was always, you have to block all of that out and tap into what it is you've been called to do and what you feel led to do, and stop making comparisons. But, part of my eulogy was like, wow, KJ, look at what you did. Here you thought you were just not measuring up, not doing enough, not achieving enough. And if I can impact lives in a fraction of the way that what has been so tragic has allowed you to do, oh my God, like I envision the servant well done, what it was like when he went on to glory, so to speak, the cheering. I mean, it's incredible to know the impact that he has had and continues to have. And so as I think about, again, in closing, this theme around woven together, I recently started reading a book that is called See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur. And it talks about, I haven't finished the book yet, but I'm early in the book. It talks about this concept around revolutionary love, and that revolutionary love is rooted in wonder. And wonder is rooted in this instinctual curiosity that we are all born with, that allows us to embrace other beings and recognize that we are all a part of each other. And that wonder inspires you when you encounter anyone to say, you're a part of me that I don't know. And I think that is one of the most beautiful expressions of what love and wonder are. And it goes on to talk about revolutionary love as this concept of love creating action in you, and this labor of love that wants you to be who we should be to each other in this world. And so when I think about the book that I'm coincidentally reading, the theme of this year's event being woven together, all that KJ's life and his gift of life to others, that's woven together. We are here to be of support to each other. We are here to bless each other. If you have the opportunity to bless someone in that way, when, by all accounts, yes, people are upset, people are sad, people are preparing to grieve, you're heartbroken. But for me to know that there are people that walk around with a part of who he was, wow. It is absolutely the greatest gift. I'm sorry. So, sorry. Didn't think I'd cry. My sunshine was everything, but my sunshine is everything. He may not be here in a way that I can hear him wear me out on the phone, text me a gazillion times a day. But I'm so grateful for the love that he poured into me, that he poured into so many people, and the love that transcends his earthly body. I respect everyone for whatever their faith or belief is. I know mine, and I am so grateful that within the faith that I hold, I feel my son's presence. I feel that love. And so he continues to be a gift in many, many ways, as I know so many that are on this shared journey, this club that none of us elected to be in. But wow, what a club to be a part of. A club made up of people that had family members give back in the absolute most selfless way that they possibly could. So we are absolutely woven together. That is a beautiful thing. And I am committed to uplifting his legacy and helping us to continue to weave that thread of community and togetherness in the way that I think we all desperately need and we all ultimately benefit from. Thank you.
A letter from a tissue recipient. I recently had surgery that used donated tissue from your loved one, and I just wanted to say thank you. Because of this incredible gift, I'm healing from an injury that had made it really hard to keep up with my daily life, especially as a parent. I have 2 young kids, ages 3 and 5, and they are full of energy and life. Before the surgery, it was painful just to walk across the room. I couldn't run after them, carry them for long, or even stand in the kitchen without discomfort. Now, for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to feel hope that I'll be able to do those things again. Your loved one's gift is helping me move toward healing, both physically and emotionally. I want you to know that their legacy is living on, not just in me, but in the time that I get to spend with my children. Every silly game, every walk in the park, and every little moment I can now be part of, and it is part of their gift too. I can only imagine the grief and loss you've experienced. I'm so sorry. I hope it brings even a small amount of comfort to know that something beautiful and lasting has come out of that loss. I will carry this with deep gratitude always. Again, thank you. A grateful tissue recipient.
A letter from a donor in spirit family. Dear Family Aftercare, thank you so very much for the cards and the thoughtful gift you sent me. It brightened my day and warmed my heart during this depressing time. May God bless each of you. Thank you. A grateful donor in spirit family.
Honoring the gift of donation and your loved one's legacy is at the heart of our service to donor and donor-in-spirit families. You are the reason we see our work as a calling and not a job. You are the reason we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are good people in this world, even when the trials and pain in life may make it hard to see or believe. The gift of life is quite profound and speaks to the light still shining brightly in humanity. You and your special person who expressed the desire to give reflect the best that lies within us. Everyone represented in today's tribute was someone whose last act was generous and their absence leaves a unique void. Each person paints a picture of the power of hope and love. The void left behind is as unique as the person we miss. As this ceremony draws to a close, we hope you will reflect upon all you have seen and heard. Just as individual threads become stronger when woven together, we too stand united and strengthened by our common thread of grief, love, honor, and hope.
We are genuinely grateful for every donor and donor-in-spirit family, and are grateful you chose to attend today's virtual ceremony. Your participation provides encouragement and creates a sense of unity and solidarity for those who are walking a similar path. May you leave today's ceremony with immense pride for your loved one, while feeling a connection to all who have attended today's event. May you be filled with grace and strength to see another sunrise. May the tapestry of your life be one that's woven together with love, kindness, and generosity.